Stand by. Fight!
Oh, there's a miss in there.
Stand by. Fight! Stand by. Fight!
All right. Let's talk about it. Moving and shooting. And corollary tied to this, staying in your lane. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dudes and dudettes, fan club. Let's talk about this, moving and shooting. What is it about? I don't think that requires a whole lot of introduction. I think it's really understood in our industry, if you're going to train firearms and self-defense, you got to move and shoot. Now the question becomes why I would take criticism from folks who are not qualified to run such a training or who are not trained in the methodology and philosophy of such a training. So you notice I gave you a couple different drills. One was called a bill drill. It's just to come around 6 rounds, up, as fast as possible. You can see I pulled one off to the right. And then another one was called an El Presidente, which is run from 10 meters, targets 1 meter apart, which is not exactly our same dimension, but involves about face. Once we turn around, it's going to be 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. And the other one, the last one, which is moving laterally. I don't have a name for it. You can call it a name. Some people call it the butterfly boy drill lately because the fan club. I love you guys. But yeah, so moving left to right, working that weaver position, tracking targets, find them, engage them each one, and then moving right to left, and then finding and engaging each target using the strong hand only technique with that only the gun hand or the right hand extended outwards. This should not require much explanation as to why those types of skills are important. Now, what is very interesting to me is why people think that they have a right to criticize when they don't understand. And the basis of their criticism actually is that they don't understand. If we do a type of training, each of these types of movements, either an about face, their lateral movements here or there, their side steps, or they're going to be aggressive right to left or left to right movements, they all have a purpose, and there's no one right or wrong way to practice moving on the shooting range. But when we have criticism that the type of training is unsafe, that the type of training is going to get people killed, that the type of training, this stuff never happens in self-defense shooting, and in fact what people they want to see me training students to do is to, kind of SWAT walk like back from 1999, kind of like this, just kind of creeping and crawling nice and slow. Like that actually is useless. All right, if we're going to talk about useless types of training, that is actually useless. And therefore, the training of it is a frivolous risk. Right? All training entails risk. Do we agree? But we take on that risk because we see that the rewards are more valuable than the risk that we're gonna burden ourselves with. So when we're doing this type of moving and shooting, there is a procedure that you work up to it. There's a set of fundamental skills, a set of gun handling, basic safety and gun handling, of muzzle direction, finger control, safety manipulations on the buttons and levers. All this stuff happens before the cameras roll and before it gets on YouTube or Instagram, all right? So fan club, I love you guys. You're giving me lots and lots of press. You're having a lot of shares and tags and likes and comments. I love all that. But the thing is, I've been working in this field now for 9 years. I've been working professionally in this field for 9 years, and most of you have not. And the reason why I know that is because there are very, very few gun schools. There are very few gun instructors. There's very few people who understand this material who are qualified to educate folks on this material. Now, many people have a rudimentary idea of how training is done. Many people have a good idea of what success in self-defense with a firearm entails, and that's really good. That's fine. But there is a difference between your hobby to go out and take some classes here and there with some instructors here and there. It is the difference if you have an amateur certification like NRA Basic Pistol. You teach a couple of classes here and there on the square range, 1 or 2 a month, 5 or 6 students and private lessons here and there. There is a difference when you run a real school and you actually have, we're talking about big classes, 15, 20 person classes every single weekend, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days a week. There's time behind anything, any trade, any craft, any dentistry, any lawyering or law enforcement work, or carpentry, or bulldozer driver, or steel fabricator, any of these professions takes a certain amount of training, and then it takes a lot of experience to really master your craft. And so don't confuse your amateur time that you've spent on the range playing with these concepts with my professional time, having worked with thousands and thousands of students, actually guiding them from point A to point B, from point A to point Z in success, owning and using and carrying firearms for self-defense. Having been there in a self-defense scenario that I need to have a gun in my hands and need to rely upon those skills for my own safety, my family's own safety. These are things that we're no longer talking about playing on the range, guys. So I appreciate your love. I appreciate your comments, fan club. If you don't know who the fan club is, don't worry about it. It doesn't matter to you. We're talking about haters and trash talkers on Instagram, on social media, okay, guys? Like, thing is, the more you do, the more specialized you get, the less people will understand what it is you do and why, and the more people will criticize, because people are simple. People are simple, and they're going to criticize what they don't understand. Think about the wise men and the elephant. One person grabs a tree trunk. One person grabs this big leather fan. One person grabs a rope, right? One person grabs a wall like the size of, a building the size of this wall. They're all touching the elephant, right? They're all blind men. They all are touching the elephant. None of them are actually wrong when they describe that elephant. But if they say that only what I see, this tree trunk of a leg, only that is what an elephant is, then that's wrong, right? It's not wrong to say what I feel about the elephant, because I can't see it, is that it's like a tree trunk. So speaking from your experience is the same thing as speaking from your ignorance. To say that I understand this much about a certain field, and this is what the experience I'm speaking from. That's fine. There's nothing wrong about that. We're all limited by our experiences. We're all limited by our ignorances. So we need to embrace our ignorance. We need to embrace our experiences. But when folks want to come to me and criticize me about staying in my lane, but they only have NRA basic pistol, or they don't even have any of those certifications, or they've spent some time in the military, but they don't have any inkling on how we do civilian handgun self-defense gunfighting, then that is laughable. That's really the irony, because if you want to tell me to stay in my lane, but you're actually in my lane and not in yours, then why are you giving me advice that you should be giving yourself? Does that make sense? So, to summarize, moving and shooting is fun. It is cool. Training folks on using the gun is cool. You guys want to comment? You guys want to like? You want to trash talk on Instagram and social media? That's cool. It only boosts our page's stats. But the training has value, and you don't understand the value of that until you actually go through it and see the process and the build-up and the philosophy and the case study of why we do a certain type of training, how much risk it entails, and how we mitigate for those risks, and how we manage for safety on the range, okay? So, those things are my job. I'm very good at that, and this is what we do here at Monarch Defense. If you have more questions about that, come to a class. You can only get so much by shit talking on social media. Peace.